So Palworld is a surprise hit game, mega hit game actually, that is currently one of the best-selling PC games of all time. It has sold well over 15 million copies, probably in the 20 plus million range at this point, more than 25 million players. And it's a game that I don't think a lot of people thought was going to be as big as it is. And it is a mixture of a survival game, crafting, monster hunter, battle, multiplayer game. And the quickest way to describe it is basically Pokemon with guns. That's probably what most people refer to as when they first see this, but there is a lot that it offers here and gamers absolutely love it. But there is one company that absolutely does not love it, and that would happen to be Nintendo. Because Nintendo, back in September, actually sues Palworld. And Palworld was released, I think, around January. Okay, January 19, 2024. It has over 270,000, nearly 280,000 reviews. Very positive reviews. And, well, Nintendo didn't like that. And the thing is, Nintendo did know about this game for a long time. It has been in development for a while. And since then, we haven't heard any updates on it until today. Because, well, Nintendo is suing Palworld for, well, let's just say ridiculous Pokeballs things. And this is something that honestly is not surprising. And there's actually 3 patents that it's actually violating, as Nintendo says. And Palworld, the makers of Palworld, Pocket Pair, actually put this on their official news page itself as of today, November 8th, 2024. And the details of this, on at least here, it's not really detailed. Okay, there's 3 different patents here, but if we look around, what do these patents actually cover? So these sites here kind of go over it. Obviously, they have to translate it from Japanese, and I am not a lawyer, but here's some of the things that they talk about. So basically throwing an object or throwing a ball. I know some of these things sound really ridiculous, but that is the first one. And then the next one is riding an animal or creature, it seems like. And what is the third one actually cover? Let me see. I'm trying to read this as well. So riding an object. Okay, you're sighting direction within a virtual space. So, okay, so targeting, I guess, would be the other thing. So, yeah, aiming direction. Yeah, these are things that, at least from somebody who plays games, and I think a lot of people out there, you would think that aiming, throwing a ball, riding an object, or riding an aerial object is something that you wouldn't be able to patent, because there's literally millions of games probably that do this or do something similar. And if you go back in time, to like old Nintendo games and stuff, there's probably games that did something like this back then. But obviously, once again, I'm not a lawyer, and Nintendo obviously thinks that there's enough here to actually sue Palworld. And in terms of the cost, it's probably going to be, for these, they're saying like 10 million bucks or something, or not even that, 66,000. It's a small amount, and even if it was in the millions, it's still small compared to probably how much money Palworld has made. But the big thing here is not really the charges, okay? So it's like 10 million yen, $66,000. But it's really the fact that Nintendo also wants to put an injunction on it, okay? So if they're able to get an injunction on this, for compensation or portion of damages, I'm not sure what that would mean in terms of its availability, or maybe continual, I guess, royalties for infringing on these patents. But I think Nintendo would like it if they could actually have this game not be made or not available at all. And, well, with any of these patent lawsuits, I do not like them at all. But once again, unless you're a lawyer, obviously they file these things, it seems like all the time. There's definitely reasons that they would do this to protect not only their IP, but also, I guess, prevent anybody from competing as well, you know, and especially if you look at these patents and they're very vague, throwing a ball, targeting, riding creatures, objects, whatever, aerial objects, that is so basic. And I know Nintendo isn't the only one, you know, Sony, Microsoft, all of these companies, you know, even if they're not gaming companies, you know, they have a lot of patent lawyers and just lawyers in general, especially if they're a big mega corporation. And so this is, I guess, part of being in this. But for me, things like this, and once again, you know, not being a lawyer, things that seem so basic, you know, so fundamental in a lot of these games, I think a lot of times it deters other independent games and not just big games, because, you know, big games, they probably have a lot of lawyers, but like indie developers and stuff, they don't have that. And so at any point in time, if any of these much larger companies want to prevent a game, or if they're seeing success out of it, they could simply just file one of these lawsuits. And, you know, even if it is something that could be won in court, if you are a smaller company, do you have the money, the resources, the time to actually fight these lawsuits? And for most smaller companies, no. And that's why if these lawsuits are levied against smaller companies, they're probably going to not make it. You know, they're going to either have to shut down their game or pay royalties and fees, which obviously affects the money they're able to earn. And for much bigger companies, and I don't think Pocket Pair is a big company, but ever since, you know, Palworld became as big as it is, they have become a lot bigger. I think it's going to stifle, you know, competition even from the big ones as well. And I think also, you know, slow down creativity. Okay, so those are just some of my thoughts on this. Even though I, like many people, love Nintendo games, I do not like the way that Nintendo does their business when it comes to competition, or even like people like myself as content creators. You really can't even put Nintendo gameplay, you know, for the most part, or they'll put a strike on your channel, you know. And also, I think one that I think is one of the biggest for me is against game emulation. Nintendo for years now, and once again, it's not Nintendo, but Nintendo is normally the one being super aggressive. They absolutely want to take down emulation of their games, but in a lot of ways, I think it's just emulation in general, because as they're suing all these emulation companies, game makers, and so forth, with every win that they have, well, that means less ways for people to game. In an ideal world, I would love it if we didn't have these type of lawsuits, patent lawsuits, stuff like that, because at the end of the day, it just really, really affects not only the competition you have, but also the type of games that people are able to enjoy. And that is a really sad thing, I think, for everyone out there. And so if you actually had any thoughts on this, be sure to leave in the comments area below, and I'll see you on another episode. Hey geeks, if you are a brand new creator and you simply want something easy to get you started, well, I got something for you with my Creator Starter Kit. This is a super simple step-by-step guide that's going to take you from having no channel to developing your very first YouTube channel, along with ideas, thumbnail designs, and other creator tips, including marketing. And the best part is, all of this is free. Simply head over to the link below, check out my page, and get started creating.